What's going on, you guys? My name is Megan. Welcome to This Past Romance. This is my YouTube channel that I occasionally talk about books on because sometimes I'm a terrible bookkeeper. Since my last video, a whole lot has changed, and I'm going to talk about that just a little bit. Not a ton. There's not a lot that you need to know. But basically, in December, I found an apartment. So I moved from where I live and where I'm at now, that you kind of see in the background. You see my kitchen in the background, or my dining room with no table in the background. I moved in here mid-January. I'm still getting my master's, and I've doubled up on my classes so that I can hurry and finish my degree. It's a whole thing. So yeah, the holidays happened, and that's always a very hectic time. I live about 2.5 hours away from my family, so I have to drive 2.5 hours and spend several days there, and it's just really hard for me to film and do homework and all that stuff, and especially in the last place I lived. Things are a little easier, things are a little better. I'm looking at a dog park out my window, and I see a lady with some dogs. So that's fun. Anyway, I am back. Videos will be regular again. I am almost out of the weird school phase that I was in, where I was like, I've been in 3 classes back to back to back. So that's changing. One of my classes ends in 2 weeks, and then I'll finish out a class. I'll have a week break, and then I will do my last class, and I'll be done in June. So a lot has happened, a lot has changed, and I'm very excited to bring you guys along on this new journey with me. So anyway, today's video, I'm rolling 2 videos into one because I've not had a ton of time to read lately. I'm still working through a book that I was very excited about, that you guys didn't get to hear me talk about a ton because I haven't filmed a video since November. But I am still working on Twisted Hate. It is pretty good. It's extra long. I feel like it's a lot longer than the other 2. But if you watched, I don't even know if I talked about it, but when I read Twisted Games, Twisted Games, the second book, it was like the Princess Diaries too. It took me a little bit to read that book too, and that's kind of how this one is. The first one I devoured in a night. The second 2 have taken some time, and last night's the first time I've read on my Kindle with my eyeballs in at least 3 weeks, if not longer. Like, books have not existed. I have a new musical artist that I'm kind of obsessed with, so I've kind of just been listening to a lot of JP Sax. I really like him. I'm really enjoying his music. So I've not even been listening to audiobooks. I have like 4 Audible credits that I haven't used. So it's fine, it's fun. But today we're gonna roll 2 videos into one because I actually did read 2 books last night. And so we're gonna talk about the books that I know for sure I read in February. And then we're gonna talk about the 8 books that I want to read in March. However, I know there will be 9 books read because I am co-hosting the Taboo Book Club. And I think I know what book we're reading. I'm not sure yet. So there will be 9 books read this month. But I have to find out I have to find out what book I'm supposed to read for Taboo Book Club. Okay. So I actually physically wrote, my handwriting is awful in these things. Actually physically wrote my list of stuff to talk about. So the books that I read in February, the first one that I want to talk about, I'm going to harass everyone to read. It was so good. I found it on TikTok, and I saw it yesterday. I sent it to Izzy and Tamika, and I was like, this sounds like a book, you know, that these 2 would like. Then I started thinking about it. So the first book that I can tell you for sure that I read in February is The Never King by Nikki St. Crow. It is a dark reverse harem Peter Pan retelling. And every year on the 18th birthday of the new generation of Darling women, Peter shows up and he kidnaps the Darling women. So growing up, Peter Pan is one of my favorite movies. I watched it all the time. Used to torture. I grew up with boys. Like, I was the only girl in a group of boys. I grew up, you know, they would make me watch like Pokemon and stuff, and then I would be like, we're going to watch Peter Pan. Never King by Nikki St. Croix. I'm going to scream about it for months. The second book in the series comes out in April. I think it was like April 26th or something. I'll be reading it too. But basically every year on the 18th birthday of the next generation of darling girls, Peter shows up, he kidnaps them, and then there is a fairy or a fae who like digs around in the recesses of their brains, and all of the darling women have gone crazy, like have gone mad because of this trip to Neverland that they take with Peter. And you get to find out about the Lost Boys, and you learn more about the Lost Boys. It was so good. It was so good. I loved it. I'm very sad that like I kind of want to read it again, but I just read it last night, so I'm not letting myself. It was so good. I have told Tamika and Izzy both that they need to read it. And everybody that watched, I'm filming this on the 27th. Yeah, so everybody that watched mine and Tamika's impromptu reading sprints last night, I also told all of them they needed to read it. It was so good. It was so good. Peter Pan like smokes, and he has tattoos, and you know, they're all tatted, and oh, I love it. I love it. I loved it. So if you're looking for something like that, it was less than 200 pages. I read it almost essentially in a sitting. I read like the first 70 pages at my cousin's house yesterday, and then I finished it last night before I went to sleep. And the second book I read last night was nowhere near as good, but I read it. And that's Daddy's Worst Nightmare by Jessica Kane. Listen, Jessica Kane, we gotta have a talk. The Jessica Kane, like the chubby series, where it's like the husky men, I love that series. I love that book series. I love all of those books. They are all so good, right? I don't know about the rest of Jessica Kane's books, because this one was rough. Damien was the little boy who was like begging for money on the street corner, and if he didn't bring home enough money or whatever, like his dad was very abusive to him and his mom, and like would kick him out and all this stuff. And Arya was like 7 or 8 and like gave him an orange, and he becomes obsessed with her and oranges, and like creates this life so that he's good enough for her, because her dad's like the DA in New York or something, and he's her guardian angel. And he like moved across the street, but like in his home he has all of these like pictures of her that he's taken, like stalker pictures. It was very weird. I was very concerned, and like I just read a book about kidnapping where there was like a 4-way. So for me to be concerned about this book, well, I don't have it physically, but for me to be concerned about this one and not the Peter Pan book, come on. It was just weird. It got 2.5 stars. I didn't like it. Jessica Kane. And I was so disappointed that I didn't like it, because I really do love the Husky series. Now let's talk about my March TBR. Are you ready? I'm not ready. Okay. A lot is happening in March as well. Both my parents' birthdays are in the same week, and that's in 2 weeks. So I've got some traveling I have to do here in the next couple weeks. And then me and Izzy and Tamika and Baby Tomes are going to a horror convention. So, and if you know me, like, I don't do horror movies. I don't do scary things. I don't like to be scared. I am always anxious anyway, and it doesn't take much to make me jumpy. It doesn't take much to scare me. So I am not excited. But we're going, and everyone gets to meet whoever they wanted to meet, except me, because I don't want to meet anybody. So yeah, I have some books. I have some books to talk about. The first one I want to talk about is Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I loved the X Talk because it kind of felt like Frasier-y, and like I grew up watching Frasier. So Rachel Lynn Solomon has written another book called The Weather Girl, and it sounds like the Netflix movie Set It Up or something, where like the two assistants try to set their bosses up so that they like get time away from work. I don't remember the names of the people because it's me, and I didn't look that closely because I haven't started reading the book. But it is a TV meteorologist and a sportscaster at a news station, and they're trying to reunite their bosses. Their bosses were married, they are now divorced, and they're trying to get their bosses back together. And from what I understand, it's like a grumpy sunshine, but she's kind of grumpy. From what little I read of the synopsis, you guys know me, I don't really read the synopsis very often. It's just not something that we do. The next book on my list is The Hot Vampire Next Door by Nikki St. Crow. Nikki St. Crow wrote The Never King, and honestly, I just kind of want to explore a little more. Do I do vampires? Not really. I read the Twilight books. That's about as far as my vampire love went. And as I got older, my type went from Edward to Jacob. So I used to be straight team Edward, like. But as an adult woman, Jacob or bust at this point, except for that last book, which was just weird. Not really into vampires, but I like Nikki St. Crow's writing, and so I'm willing to give it a chance. The next book that I want to read in March is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. It is another Peter Pan retelling. I've seen different people talk about it, so I want to read it. I really enjoyed The Never King. So, and this Hooked apparently dives more into the backstory of Peter Pan versus The Never King, which didn't go in really into Pan's background. Like, you find out what happened to Tink, and you find out more about his relationship with Wendy to an extent, but it really mainly focuses on the relationship with Winnie and Peter. Winnie is like the great-great-granddaughter of Wendy. Also on the list is Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. You guys know I love Tessa Bailey. I need to finish It Happened One Summer. That's how bad my reading has been. I still have not finished It Happened One Summer. And not because it's bad, I just haven't been reading. I haven't been reading. Also want to finish Hot Under His Collar by Andy J. Christopher. I loved the first two books in the series. Happy to read this one. Have started it again. Things got hectic and stressful, and life got crazy. So I'm excited to actually finish this book. And then I want to read Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I think I've read one Lucy Score. But this one sounds interesting. I made a note. Like, I don't make a lot of notes. Right? Like, I have a note here and I have a note here, and that's it. This book, Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, sounds like a mix of one of the movies I grew up on, which was Smokey and the Bandit. If you've never seen Smokey and the Bandit, just understand that I grew up on it, and I don't know if I'll ever not. It will always hold a special spot in my heart here. But it's a mix. It sounds like a mix of Smokey and the Bandit and like a gender swapped Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. Like, somehow, I don't remember the girl's name. Again, I don't pay that much attention to the synopsis. But she like ran away from a wedding, and her sister leaves her with a child, and that was kind of like Wesley in Tools of Engagement. He ended up with his niece because his sister kind of ran off. So yeah, I'm excited to read that one. I actually am very interested in it. The last two I want to talk about for March that I want to read are both books that I found on TikTok. So I don't know a lot about them. The first one is Sweet Valentine by S.A. Clayton. These are just the books that I had screenshot in the last couple days from TikTok as well. So Sweet Valentine by S.A. Clayton, and then Doc. And I'm not going to try to pronounce the author's name because I cannot even begin to try to pronounce the last name. But Doc is about a doctor, like a neuro doctor, not like I don't think he's a surgeon, but some kind of like neurologist who uses his degree in like neurology and anatomy to help like assault victims. Kind of, from what I understand, kind of no longer have that fear, I guess. I don't know. It sounds very interesting, and obviously I'll report back after I read it. And then the very last book is a Dad's Best Friend book for the Taboo Book Club, again, that I'm co-hosting this month, or the next 2 months. I don't remember how she's doing it now. She told me a million times and I don't remember, so it's fine. I am very excited, and yeah, I'm happy to be back. Leave me a cat emoji down below. I have a Marie on a bookshelf over here. If you guys want to see like an apartment tour or something, let me know, because like I'll have to clean up some. But yeah, that's it for me. I'm very excited to, like I said, I'm very excited to be back, and I can't wait to keep talking to you guys about all the books that I'm reading, because I'm reading again. It feels good. So as always, you guys, just be good to yourself, take care of yourself, and I'll catch you all in my next one. Bye everyone.